King K. Rool wants Donkey Kong's bananas, and no, that's not innuendo. Get out of here with that.
Okay.
You may be wondering now, how can a game about a gorilla recovering his stolen bananas possibly be any more sophisticated than a plumber saving a princess? Well, that can be broken down easily to one major component. Learning later that the culprit is King K. Rool, a fearsome dictator with an intimidatingly bloodshot eye. Why exactly he's taking the bananas is up for debate, whether he wants to stave off the Kongs, which is dark in itself, or feed his own pirate crew to combat scurvy, as suggested in another video of mine. We'll be looking less at theorization and more towards fact. So, dismissing hypothetical implications, the concept of stealing bananas is unarguably silly. Instead of a simple text pop-up, this game clearly wants to make you feel bad for ending these Kong's journey early. Battered and beaten, a bruised pair of heroes look dejectedly at the camera, against a background void of light, sporting bandages and a black eye for Diddy. To top it off, a crude wooden font hangs overhead with melancholic music, leaving the player with the sole option of mashing their controller to make it stop. This time though, I'll be analyzing Diddys Conquest, a sequel that expands upon absolutely everything the original established. Grander levels, better bonus stages, and an introduction to the best character in the entire franchise. But that's not all. While the odds seemed against you at times, there was a level of optimism, as you're Donkey Kong, a true hero with a lifelong buddy at your side. I mentioned the use of spirits before, but this instance isn't comical like the ghost rope. That's its real name. No, in this case, the player is tasked with a second round against the soul of the first boss Diddy and Dixie bested. And, assuming these eggs are of the creature's young and not however the eggs Yoshi throws work, its babies are fated to battle again too.
Yeah.
So before I begin, I'd like to start out this video with a shocking commercial I found.
There comes an age in life when you find out what hands are really for. Donkey Kong Country 3 by Nintendo.
I was just looking for the sports channel, Gary.
Yeah, that's real. However surprising their adverts may have been at one point though, Nintendo always has been a company with primary focus on video games that anyone can enjoy. An abundance of mills in the first world, as textiles were the leading industry for jobs at the time, and recurring technological progression throughout the game. These wheels aren't going to power themselves. On a side note, the German name for this level can be translated as various screams. Wow, let's take that in for a moment. I love DKC3's focus on pollution and its Industrial Revolution motif, reasons why it's my personal favorite of the trilogy, and deserves to have been covered for dark aspects. Unrelated to this theme, but significant to the overall anxiety-ridden presence the game presents, is the song Waterworld. Speaking of childish, while some of the bosses are silly concepts like an anthropomorphic burping barrel or an abominable snowman, they all have one thing in common, and that is irritated big red eyes. K. Rool's always had this going for him, but apparently it's infectious in the northern hemisphere. Look at all these.
Writing dialogue for the characters, that was always good fun. Just seeing how many innuendos you could slip in, and hope that they wouldn't then get cut afterwards.
As the thumbnail may have already suggested, such as Grunty's favorite party trick being either a scary striptease or ability to blow balloons up with her butt. Both of these are pretty shocking, especially the direct mention of a striptease, which is hard to imagine an old hag pulling off. And the fact that he's forcibly chained to the scummy depths begging for fresh air makes for an emotional moment when he's freed. Everything about the gameplay in this level is terrifying too. Anytime there's deep diving far away from oxygen, it's accompanied with a scare chord. Then there's actually going inside of the monster in a vein akin to Ocarina of Time's Jabu Jabu. Much like how Majora's Mask is the dark roast to Ocarina of Time's House Blend, Banjo-Tooie does without the cream and sugar of Banjo-Kazooie as a straight shot of black espresso. Even as a kid, I picked up on just how grim the opening sequence is, and it's left an impact since. After reveal that Gruntilda is still alive as an animate skeleton, Bottles the Mole, your teacher companion in the first game, is killed off immediately by a lethal spell that destroys Banjo's home. Whatever the case, they have a pretty messed up family life built on lies and distrust. Who knew I would ever say that about a fictitious family of freaking moles? Unfortunately, after being freed from her grave, Grunty disrupts this peace by driving a giant drill straight through their settlement. Each of the 9 Jinjo families are scared away and separated with their houses still standing, but a 10th building, home to the Grey Jinjos, was completely demolished by the hand. It's presumed the Grey Jinjos were the largest family, but they all perished as denoted by a single signpost clearly outlining their fate. This isn't subtle. A whole family of friendly creatures were murdered on behalf of Grunty, something the player can discover within the opening half hour. He's a zombified ruler in a lifeless castle, with his poor pet reduced to a pair of eyeballs on a pile of ash. King Jingling's fate after Grunty's defeat is better than Bottles, but it's still very much deserving of a Dark Aspect award as again, we're not even an hour into the game yet. Unfortunately, Trotty was pushed in as a prank and mutated from the waste. He grew a 3rd arm after surfacing, and expresses concern that he may also be growing a 3rd leg. It's probably not a leg he's referring to there. He's the mayor and owner of a harborside tavern, serving ginger beer, which is traditionally non-alcoholic, but apparently not in this universe, as it's strong enough to get Captain Black-Eye to fall off his chair. His other menu items include salty dumplings, toad in the hole, and seaman surprise. His partner, Mary Maggie, even invites the pair to grab a sailor night at the bar, where they can get 5 tankards of that seaman special. It's a good thing you rescued her too, because there's mention of Jolly needing a little relief during happy hour. Highly suggestive. Jolly is depicted as the stereotype of a gay man, which is a big no-no for Nintendo's censors, especially in the year 2000. In another world, Pterodactyland, the pathway to Mumbo's skull is unapologetically in the shape of a. Mumbo's spell for this level also happens to be called Enlarge, something he performs on the pathway to paint an even more obscene picture, especially when looking down from the cliffside. If Banjo-Tooie was a coffee drink, we'd be right at the bottom half of this bitter blend. So swallow it down, but don't visualize that word because we're continuing on with innuendo Rare slipped into their E-rated game. In Glitter Gulch Mine, beating character Canary Mary in a race has her reward the duo with a jiggy she's been keeping under her wing for a long time. Kazooie answers in disgust and refuses to listen to where she's storing the Cheeto page. I'll leave that up to your imagination. Banjo even has to cut off another character in the first world about to curse by reminding everyone that this is a family game. I don't believe him. Also taking place in Mayahem Temple, there's a code chamber to be found where you can enter cheat codes provided by Grunty's spellbook. The first row of letters reads ESRA, which is arse spelled backwards, and hilariously could double as a jab at the ESRB rating system. How fitting. When Banjo learns what her last name is in Tooie, he says, "Whatever you say, Winky," essentially calling her a dick. The satisfied Boggy invites Banjo to watch his Bear Babes DVD that should be hot stuff. Pigs are classically hilarious, much like the tried and true banana. For example, you can slip on its peel for some slapstick, the association with monkeys.
Our love is stronger than a golden banana.
Starting off this list, we have Whiz-Pig from Diddy Kong Racing on N64. As the name suggests, wait for it, he's a wizard pig. You have truly outdone yourselves, Rare.